Hello, welcome back. I know it's probably not been such a while since I've turned the camera on, but it has been a while since I've done a specific one, where I'm looking at this now not so new book by JK Rowling. Curious, is it not, that I should compare her to the Wicked Witch, given that she did in fact write a series of books on witches, and her original critics were all people who thought that because she wrote about witches and wizards, she must seriously be one and be promoting witchcraft and Satanism and all the rest of it. But now it's people from the other side, people who are entirely secular and not religious, who have adopted a new cult, who thinks it's wrong to say that men are men and women are women. She said more than that, I'm abbreviating it, but something that a lot of people were looking at as well was burning this book. And I've been looking at this book between times, and I thought, why not? Let's have a look and see if it's worthy of being burnt. I've already done the first two. Wasn't too impressed with the story thus far. We started out with a kind of Cornish nationalist, which didn't really go anywhere. We found a fellow with a wooden leg, or a prosthetic leg. We found out that his aunt had cancer, and we also found somebody else that had a wig or a toupee. So we're on chapter 6 now. There's a running theme with Edmund Spenser, the poet, from the Fairy Queen. Fair lady, heart of flint would rue the undeserved woes and sorrows which ye show. I should apologise, by the way, about the terribly messy room that I've got, or the messy couch behind me. I shan't be here in a while, that's why I'm rushing this at the moment. It'll probably be rather short a review, actually. If it isn't, then I'll mash two of them together. So we're on chapter 6. Woodhouse Terrace lay on a hill with a wide view of the bay below. It's a nice way of beginning a chapter. Something I've noticed, by the way, is how she sort of shoves loads of characters together. And something that I recall from the Harry Potter books is how loads of names are mentioned, and one of the criticisms was that there were too many characters in it, but as good in a way because it kept you guessing. You know, Sirius Black was mentioned in the very first, if you think carefully, in the very first chapter of the very first Harry Potter book, when Hagrid flew out of the sky on his motorbike and he said, "Young Sirius Black lent it me." And then suddenly you get to meet Sirius Black in the third book. I don't know if something similar is going to happen here because there are just so many characters that are mentioned. So Robin, his sort of partner, was mentioned. He's talking to Kim, and he's looking for somebody's mother who's been missing for a while. And he's talking to somebody now about the case. Coffee suggested Anna, and both of them accepted. A ragdoll cat, whatever that is, maybe it's describing its features, I'm guessing it's not a toy, came prowling into the room, stepping delicately through the puddles of sunlight on the floor, its clear blue eyes like Jones across the bay. Jones, his aunt. So there's a cat that's got eyes like his aunt. I'm not sure whether that's a worrying thing for a cat or a worrying thing for his aunt, but never mind. After subjecting both Strike and Robin to dispassionate scrutiny, cats are good at that, it leapt lightly onto the sofa and into Strike's lap. His real lap or his prosthetic lap? Never mind. Ironically, said Kim, as she carried a tray laden with cups and biscuits to the table, Cagney absolutely loves men. That's wonderful. That's actually strange. I knew a cat named Cagney. I know it's off topic, but that's quite creepy. Cagney loves men. Strike and Robin laughed politely. Anna brought over the coffee pot, and the two women sat down side by side, facing Strike and Robin, their faces in full glare of the sun until Anna reached for a remote control, which automatically lowered cream-coloured sun blinds. So this is quite a modern setting, as we've established before. He takes notes while they're talking, and they're asking this woman whose mother is missing that she's, been gone for a while, just over a year old, said this woman, Anna. This is the woman, by the way, who had the partner that had no beard. I know that's a weird way of saying it, but how else do you describe someone who's barefaced? I can't remember her at all. So, there are no photographs of her in the house while I was growing up. I didn't know what happened to them for a long time. Of course, there was no interest back then. Anyway, my mother kept her own surname after marriage. I grew up as Anna Phipps, which is my father's name. If anybody had said Margot Bamborough to me before I was 11, I wouldn't have known she had any connection to me. It turns out she was raised by a childminder, third cousin of her father's. Although she's a distant cousin of her father's, she married him. Used to be commonplace, I guess. Turns out she knows about her mother being one of those seductive bunny people were referenced in the first chapter that I read. Strike gets into a bit of an argument with Robin. Ilsa is mentioned again. Then there's a person named Patricia Chauncey, who's 56 and looks 65, who has a deeply lined monkeyish face. So many baboons in this. She vaped continually in the office. Sounds rather disgusting, but not as bad as smoking tobacco, of course. She's got a deep voice and rasping. She was often mistaken for Strike on the phone. She's got a mannish voice and looks like a monkey. Fine. Strike and Pat's relationship had been combative from the start, which puzzled Robin, who liked them both. Robin was used to Strike's intermittent bouts of moodiness and prone to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially when she suspected he was in pain. But Pat had no compunction about snapping, "What do you think?" Pat had no compunction about snapping, "Would a thanks kill you?" if Strike showed insignificant gratitude when she passed him his phone messages. So there's another character in this now. They go back to this polygamist, this serial polygamist that's tarting around with people. Again, my words, not the author's. More foul language here and there. Discussions over strawberries. Then they talk about a criminal. Dennis Creed, still alive. Where is he? Broadmoor. That's a mental hospital. That's kind of a prison, but not. Where you might go if you have a successful insanity plea in this country. But only if you're really, really, really mental. If you live in the right area. We move on to part 2 of the story, and we're on chapter 8. Second Mrs. Tufty. Again, because it's the Tufty Club, I can't avoid thinking about that. More discussions over this Dennis Creed criminal. He was good at lulling women's suspicions and getting their sympathy. A couple of them walked to his flat of their own accord. Found out where this boyfriend had been on the night Helen Wardrop got attacked. Who? Prostitute. So he kills prostitutes like Jack the Ripper. Turns out this Creed person is a rapist as well as a torturer. Strike's mobile rang. Trying not to lose his page, the page where he's reading about this person murdering people, Strike groped for it and answered it without looking at the caller's identity. Strike. "Hello, Bluey," said a woman softly. Strike set the book on his bed, pages down. There was a pause in which he could hear Charlotte breathing. "What do you want?" "To talk to you," she said. "What about?" "I don't know." She half laughed. "You choose." Strike knew this mood. She was halfway into a bottle of wine, or perhaps had enjoyed several whiskies. So they have a drunken conversation, basically. It turns out that she'd had some premature babies born, or they thought they were going to be. Nobody thought they'd live. "Did you know that?" Charlotte said. "Now, it's," she whispered, "a miracle. If it's your kid's birthday, I should let you go," said Strike. "Good night, Char." "Don't go," she said, suddenly urgent. "Please don't." "Hang up," said a voice in his head. He didn't. "They're asleep, fast asleep. They don't know it's their birthday. The whole thing's a joke. Commemorating the anniversary of that effing nightmare. It was a night hideous. They cut me open. I've got to go. I'm busy." He hangs up. Then we cut to Robin. For the first time we've got a description of her, sort of. Says that she's 29, but she's not 30 yet, so she doesn't know how to feel. Turns out she's got a gay landlord who's 42 and is called Max Priestwood. Is he going to be relevant later? Probably not, but we'll see. And she starts reading about this Dennis Creed murderer person. She skips parts so as not to read the most gruesome bits. Gets in touch with one Dr. Dinesh Gupta. And we meet this person who says, "You are thinking that I look like Gandhi." Strike, who'd been thinking exactly that, was surprised into a laugh. The 81-year-old doctor appeared to have shrunk inside his suit. They sort of question him about this Anna person's mother. Turns out he's got very educated children. Talks about this Margot Bambra person. A feminist, was she? "Oh, very much so," said Gupta, smiling. "She would tease me about what she thought were my regressive attitudes. She was a great improver of people. Margot, whether they wish to be improved or not," said Gupta with a little laugh. "She volunteered at the WEA, the Workers' Education Association, you know. She'd come from a poor family and she was a great proponent of adult education, especially for women. She would certainly have approved of my girls," said Dinesh Gupta. Turns out he had a very wide members of staff. Cleaner, West Indian. Black ladies, they are much harder to age, aren't they? They look younger for longer. Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. I think she had several children, so not very young. So we're being introduced to more characters that we may or may not get to meet. It turns out she was a liberated lady. Friends at school, medical school, the partners in my previous had all been men. Liberated lady. You know, I can only ever think of...
I would say that's a pretty common sex worker trait, is being liberated.
No, it's my dirty mind. How did Margot get along with 2 receptionists? You know about the mysterious dark lady. Everything I knew about her came from Little Gloria. It's another receptionist, not a girl on reception. Have you met Roy, Margot's husband? No, said Strike. I've been hired by her daughter. How well did you know him? Only very slightly, said Gupta. So we know a little more about this missing person, that she was married at one point, in addition to having a child. Surreptitiously clicking the nib back out of his pen. Spoilt, said Gupta. Very spoilt. A handsome man who had been made a prince by his mother. We Indian boys know something about that, Mr. Strike. I met Roy's mother at the barbecue I mentioned. She singled me out for a conversation. A snob, I should say. She didn't consider receptionists or secretaries worth her time. I had the strong impression that she thought her son had married beneath him. Again, this opinion is not unknown among Indian mothers. He's a haemophilic, isn't he? Said Gupta. Not that I've heard, said Strike, surprised. Yes, said Gupta, I think so. I think he is. He was a haematologist by profession, and his mother told me that he had chosen this specialty because of his own condition. You see, the clever, fragile little boy and the proud, overprotective mother. So we learn a little bit more of this, and then we also learn about Dennis Creed murderer person, how he sort of suspected something but didn't at the same time. More characters from his half-brother Al, we mentioned, and his friend Ilsa. And Al says, in a text, "Hey bruv," it began chummily. As you know, the Deadbeats are celebrating 50 years together next year. Strike hadn't known this. He'd met his father, Johnny Rugby, who was lead singer of the Deadbeats, exactly twice in his life, and most of the information he had about this rock star father had come either from his mother, Leda. Isn't Leda that ancient Greek heroine who did something unspeakable to Zeus while he was disguised as a swan? Never mind. Woman with whom he carelessly fathered a child with a swan in the semi-public corner of a party in New York, or from the press. As you know, the Deadbeats are celebrating 50 years together next year. Super confidential. And suddenly he learns that from Ilsa that it's Robin's birthday. So we'll stop it there, I think. I'm going away soon, so I'll try to edit this while I'm away, but I shan't be able to elaborate too further. At least we're learning something about the murderer in this. We're learning something about a more fleshed out character in the form of this Margot Bambra person, beyond the fact that she was a playboy bunny girl kind of thing. There's less fetish material in there than there was when I read the first 2 chapters. Not grabbing me in the same way as the Harry Potter books, but at the same time it's not dull. And neither, I might add, is it yet making fun of trans people, so far as I can make out, which is what the allegation was. So, for now at least, ta-ta!